I'm going to be painting this scene in acrylics, which I've already laid out. I'm using the Amsterdam brand by Royal Talons. I've got a combination of the artist quality, which is the expert range, and the student quality. And basically the white and the yellow and orange are artist quality. It's because they're lighter colors, and I just want them to zing out a little bit more. I use quite large brushes. These are the slightly smaller ones. That's a bigger one, and I've got a bigger one still. These are by De La Rowney as well. They're called Skyflow System 3 acrylic brushes. Basically, I just like large flathead brushes. You can load a lot of paint and cover a lot of ground. I'm working on canvas. It's a stretch canvas, and I've laid down a base color of a turquoise green, and that's pretty much it. I've got a couple of mixing trays, and yeah, I'll show you this throughout the course of the evening as I'm mixing my color, but we'll get going anyway. And I'm going to start with a 2-inch brush. With, I just damped it, so there's a bit of water. It's not excessive, so I'll just get some of that off. Basically, I just want a damp brush. So what we want to do is start off with either large areas or areas of color. So there's a bit of a strong kind of limey yellow there, orange there. So I think I'll start off with maybe some orange, because it's kind of reflected in the seating area and within the bar. And then I'll start putting some darks on, and we'll go from there. So orange, so just keep an eye. So I've got cadmium orange, medium yellow, some yellow ochre, bit of ultramarine violet, and some burnt sienna. And really what I want to do is just apply the color roughly where I think, just on the top of this pub, there's some strong orange. Just want to run the color in a little bit more. It's a case of just trying to get it opaque enough to penetrate the base color. And yeah, so I don't want it to go too transparent. So I do want it to be fairly strong. Obviously, it might be in the wrong place, but just to get me going, I'm just applying this color quite broadly to start with. I always find this first stage is really about trying to make some very, very positive marks. So all I'm doing is just dabbing into some of this color. I've not done the scene before, so it's going to be a bit of an exploration as to what comes out. But this is the process that I normally paint by. Just really try to be relatively positive and not overmix the color to start with. The other thing is I don't really want to spend too long initially anyway, just blocking this in, because I want to build up some kind of momentum. Just put some magenta in there with some more burnt sienna and some purple. So this stage is where you can be, I guess, your most adventurous. Just yeah, so I'm just plotting some color. So obviously it's quite a busy scene. There's lots of technical things going on. But that's not what I'm doing. Okay, so just going to get some yellow in here. So I've got cadmium. Actually, it's not cadmium, it's a mid yellow. And right, so I just got to mute people. Right, there we go. Okay, so yellow's going to go there. I don't really want to use too much white, so just a dab, just to strengthen the color a little bit, and just drag that down. Okay, so obviously, as I'm laying all this stuff in, I am starting to consider where things are going to go. So there's a patchwork of chairs and people here. Then there's some in there. There's 3 guys here. There'll be a strong dark coming in here. This area of dark could turn out to just be that, an area of dark. So I'm quite keen to drop some color in there. So again, just show you my little mixing tray. So it basically starts off with the first thing I lay down, which is the orangey burnt sienna color, then goes into yellow. And then I'm probably going to work my way around the colors I'll be using. In fact, there's a nice bit of sagey green coming in. Yeah, so I use quite dominant colors because I've got a few choices then as to how much I want to soften them. If I use certain colors, like more passive colors, I can't really dry them up too much. So I always start off with quite strong color. Okay, so like I say, this is going to move over. That's probably going to be a different color. So the orange actually starts off around about there. Okay, there's some lighter colors in there. So again, just looking at the computer. I've had a few days at home. Probably the most days I've had at home, because I'm basically doing the place up while my partner's away. So I haven't done much painting. And it's really weird coming in this evening, because I was waiting for some stuff this evening to then do some painting, because I've been so obsessed with painting for so long that even if I have, I don't know, 3 or 4 days where I don't come in, I sound rusty. I think sometimes it's quite good not to come in all the time. Okay, there's some green there. And yeah, I wanted to get some kind of green in here. Yeah, you've turned up hoping to see a street scene. The first half now is obviously this, which is slightly more of an abstract. But but this is really how I start. Okay, so yeah, these kind of greens, I kind of want them to almost double up as darks to start with. So we'll do some of that. I'm basically just running it into my yellows and what have you. And I'm just going to drag some in here. Keep an eye on time as well. Okay, so I find early on, so if I want to utilize some more color, yeah, if I want to utilize more color, I need to introduce it early on. So if I want to introduce more of the light purple, a bit of green, even a bit more of this magenta, ideally it needs to go in quite soon. It's obviously slightly mixed in with the green color. That way I just get an interesting concoction of purpley green. And right, and obviously there's a bit of an umbrella here. I did used to paint normal, but it didn't get me anywhere. So I started painting with bigger brushes. Yeah, so you've got to be careful with acrylic, probably like most mediums, if you start just working it too hard. I mean, especially with acrylics, because it just goes dull really, really quickly. So you don't want to be too excessive about what happens with the paint. So if I pick up paint, even when I mix it, it might be a couple of times, and then I'll just apply it. So I might get a bit of streaking. But yeah, I don't particularly ponder on things too long. So I've laid down some kind of green there. There's a guy over here. Just want some purple coming into this area. Over there. I'm doing an article, probably going to start tomorrow, because I write for the Artists and Illustrators. So I've had a few things in there recently. So the next feature is about direct color mixing. So you take a load of paint and you slop it on, basically. Okay, so there's obviously some lighter tints. There's some light gray, a fair bit of drawing to be done. But this is definitely how I like starting. What I found problematic with how I used to paint was I would have drawn this out, and then I would have literally nowhere to go other than the process of kind of filling in information in a more technical way. So the idea behind this is really not to get too technical at the beginning, so your painting arm can flourish, and just explore a little bit more a few of the possibilities in the scene. So for example, I'm looking at the scene, but I'm also looking at the colors that I'm trying to utilize. it's so, I'd say easy, it's not easy. I could just use what I'm literally trying to see, which is kind of dark browns and what have you, but it's just, I want to make the process a little bit more interesting for me. And I'm doing a street scene at the moment, quite a large one for a client. And I mean, she could get anyone to do this scene, but she particularly wanted my take on, although that's a mess. Yeah, my take on color. So, right, so just moving along. Yeah, there's a guy, Trevor Eve is over here. So don't want to use too much white. I could use a tiny bit of gray. I've started putting gray in just to see what happens to my palette, just to create a slightly softer thing. This lady here. Yeah, so that orange initially completely in the wrong place, which is fine. Okay, so the ground is fairly light, but before I start using large amounts of, white, I'm just going to make sure color really is a main focus. So I don't really like these things or the gray, but when you're quickly trying to get something done, it's quite handy because it's almost a pre-mixed light tint. So I'm going to use some of this, which is buff titanium, some yellow, some ultramarine violet, some burnt sienna, and some yellow ochre. Mix those in. So just starting a new patch. Just going to add maybe a touch of blue in there. Back to that. And we're just going to apply. So when I first started out with this, I was maybe using a lot thicker paint, but I've just, for the initial stages, I'm quite keen for it to just run a little bit smoother. Yeah, that's going to go a little bit darker in there, so just pick up some of the color on my palette. Bit of purple. The moment you can recognize it is I was going to say when it gets boring. It's not when it gets boring. It's just going to be more technical. Okay. And yeah, so unlike oils, where you may well cover a lot of this in thin layers, what I'm trying to do is nail some of the layers almost straight away. Right. Okay. Right. Yeah, if you've got any questions, just yeah, keep them short, or I'll be happy to answer anything maybe towards the end. Right, so I'm really thinking of the next stage, which is really to pull the information out so it looks like the scene a little bit more, but just looking to cover everything. Yeah, so I don't want that interfering too much. Just where it's streaking into a bit of light. Okay, so just over here, some grey there. Okay, so within this area, there's a few figures milling around, and yeah, there's some strong color that's going to pop from this. But at this stage, it's all about just coverage, do it fairly quickly. It's just so later on, I'm not completely shattered, because I'm definitely seeing this as let's not really think about things too much, get things filled in, and then as I start to do maybe smaller things, I can be a little bit more concise. Right, yeah, I just wanted, this lady's got a light jacket. I didn't want to go really light. I just wanted some color there. Just quickly move along. There's a guy. I did email out the photo, but occasionally I'll just show you. Yeah, it looks exactly nothing like it. Okay, yeah, so there's a guy here with a green jacket. I've still got some green on my mixing tray. Just quickly move. So there's a guy here, it's quite a distinctive fellow. Too strong. Okay, yeah, just here, he's got kind of a mustardy jacket. So yeah, what I try to do is find midtones. I'll stretch it to a bit of light, but nothing too strong. It might be that as I'm doing this, I'll just configure how large the figures are going to be, and I might even get some indication of his head. As soon as I put that in, I can just relate it to maybe heights of things and where other people are. And yeah, so there's a nice shot of light blue there. But while I've got this color, just want to get some of this warm. Yeah, I'm careful not to go too mad. Sorry. Occasionally I might jog the thing. Okay. Yeah, so we'll get the blue in a second. Just want to get some lighter patches of yellow here. Essentially, I'm trying to dominate layer after layer. So some of these colors aren't dry yet. So that's quite a thick dollop that I can dominate quite easily over there, there, and in there. And yeah, just yeah, where these windows are, there's some orange coming through. And there's a bit of a lantern over here. Okay, so Yeah, just need a clean brush to get some light blue in there. So yeah, again, I'll use a little bit of white. So I've got a few blues here, cyan, cobalt, and that's called brilliant blue. Some of the stuff I've done recently, I've actually limited my palette quite severely. Yeah, it's just, I've been looking at some other artists. I'm a big one on just like looking at artists and maybe just trying to learn. That's flared out, that's not very good. Yeah, so just limiting my palette. There is one good thing about using this amount of color, and they're quite vibrant as well. You will learn about color mixing quite quickly. So yeah, so I quite like the option. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is we're going to strengthen up some tones. I'm almost tempted to say I'm going to start to draw, although it's not so much a drawing, it's just defining some things. Right, so this is a 1/2 inch. Just gotta, okay. Okay, so it's a question of maybe indicating some of the figures a bit more. So a couple of ways I can do that. I can use a strong dark. So I've got, so my strongest dark is this Prussian blue, which I'll save till the end. To start with, I just need maybe something like my deep violet and some green. If it's too strong, I can douse it down with the gray potentially, or some burnt sienna. Just okay. So I like holding the brush a little bit floppily, just holding the brush further back so it can pivot between your fingers, because I want to make some assertive inroads into putting some edges in, but I don't want it to be forced, if you like. So one of the problems about maybe just trying to get all this done in a relatively short amount of time is just something I've noticed when I've been painting over the last few months, actually, is I would spend quite a bit of time just looking at the painting now, rather than just make a mark, just to kind of force my hand into doing something. But yeah, so I'm a little less committed to putting lots of dark edges in as I used to be. The reason for that is I quite like the abstract qualities, and if you start rampaging towards the final kind of destination of drawing everything out, you'll lose some of the initial flurries of marks. Okay, so there's things, little triangular shapes coming out here and there. Just around here. This is very much just carving out. Just wanted some orange in there, just to give me a slightly different tone. He's got a green shirt, but I'm just putting that in just to create a record that's going to be dark. So again, years ago, this would have been done with a very small brush just to tickle out information, but this is far better just to do this, almost trying to find blocks of shade. Yes, I want strong darks there. This can soften off. This can then go dark again a little bit more. Okay, so yeah, there's quite a bit of distance between chairs. So yeah, just so part of the good thing about keeping loose is I can probably spot quite early on my little problem areas, maybe the distance, but I mean, it's not a problem, obviously. Okay, so just moving along here. So just got to find this lady. So just to let you know, we are having a break. So normally I'll do something like 45 minutes or so. It depends on the painting sometimes. I find that's true with my normal paintings. I'll do an hour, maybe just over an hour of this speculative stuff, just to really establish everything. And then I'll probably ruin it by spending a lot of time drawing shapes out. I found it one of the it's funny because I don't know if it's good or bad, but when I started painting this way, I was kind of between genres in that I still had realism embedded in a very big way, because that's what I was doing at college. I was trying to paint realistically. And I was on the cusp of doing like more impressionistic stuff. So I started looking at a lot of impressionistic stuff, and over the course of the suddenly last couple of years, I've looked at more abstract stuff. I've looked at more expressionistic stuff, and you can slightly lose yourself by looking at lots of different disciplines, which is essentially why you see a lot of artists, they kind of stick to their group, I think. I've certainly come across that even when I've judged certain things, people choose things that have mimicked their stuff. So yeah, I just like finding out stuff that I can't do, because I can't do abstract or good abstracts anyway. Okay, so these people are going to slowly emerge. That being the main focal point is why I'm just spending a little bit of time. I am very eager to get into some big stuff again, because you just feel your brain's thinking of like little things rather than the expanse. And at this stage, it's still meant to be quite expansive. Okay, so that needs to be a bit darker again. I don't want to put dark in for the sake of it, but we'll make some of this I'll make some of it a bit darker. So I've got a few colors. I can never remember that, some of that, burnt sienna. It's one of the things when you're doing a demo, you kind of get into the swing of things and you forget people are watching what you're doing. Okay, so once I find that, I can then find maybe a bit of the top there. So I like things like I'll give a bit of an edge and then I'll lose some of the edge for the top of it. And then I'll rediscover an edge around here. This lantern is quite a nice feature, so we'll do something with it. And just drag that along. Yeah, so there's information galore in here. And it's one of the reasons why I'm quite keen to just not overdo it around here, just put in a couple of blocks. Just gonna line things up. Because I like some of these interactions of color. Right, so it's dark around here. And just a bit of gray, bit of blue. So I've got an array of color to choose from, which kind of mimics the things I've got on the painting. And yeah, just darken. So I keep jogging. Right, so we've got a basket there. Yeah, so yeah, this green actually comes out a little bit, and then we've got the doorway over there. And yeah, so where you've got a dark shape here, just looking to do that fairly quickly. There's different things there. I'll get to that soon. Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea maybe to get some strong lights in now. Just want to maybe get some legs on this chair. Quite like that's purple and that's a bit bluey. Things like that I quite like. Okay. So I'm going to go in with some strong lights. Actually, they won't be too strong. They'll be light enough for the thing to pop. But I don't really want to use a pure white, obviously, just yet. So we'll go for a light gray. So white, I could use gray, but we'll go burnt sienna and blue. So it's basically that. I'll put some lemon yellow in it as well. I like using lemon yellow just to add a bit of lightness. Yeah, it needs to be a little bit stronger. Yeah, so I'm going to paint over this lovely mark there, but actually some of it will remain. Just drag that up. Yeah, so very much carving this shape out. Quite keen to use the orange as a chair, so almost just putting the slats in, the light parts. So it's quite tricky to know if it's going well or not, because everything's quite, certainly from where I am, it's just kind of blocks. In fact, there's a bit of light behind here, which creates an interesting shape. And this lady, I can almost start to pull out something of at the top of her head, part of the head. There's actually a silhouette behind her. Some light blue. And I'll show you the photo in a sec. It's just, it kind of gives you some clues. So there's these nice little triangular shapes here, triangular shape there. That's an interesting shape. So I'm looking at those to create the little shapes of figures. And then obviously what I'll do later on is use a slightly steady hand to maybe just add a bit more in the way of detail. Actually depends on time as well. Let's put that in. Okay. Right, so we'll move. Just lighten this bloke's trousers. Got a couple of creases. And yeah, could almost bring his jacket out because I've got some of the right colors on my mixing tray. So it's always useful to put some kind of crease in somewhere when you're doing things like this. So the background's interesting. Just behind this bloke's head is some strong yellow. Just wanted to drop that in now because it's quite positive use of color. This brush is stiffened up. And just, yeah, and below there's a blob of red, which I'll come back to. Just wonder if I could use that for anything else. Yeah, there's a couple of guys. Just needs to come over a bit more. So it does help when you do big things because it's going to contrast all these little things that you'll eventually put in. And yeah, so there's a guy. Going to use that yellow in a second to bring out the background. Just need yeah, we'll do something with this figure as well because he's got a lighter jacket. Just got to mix up the white. So this sagey green color. So the good thing about having a mid-tone is when you put the lighter tones in, these aren't necessarily the strongest lights, but they're just going to pop. Just get his arm in. And part of the jacket. Yeah, so I would have just maybe created some more complex mixes there. But I'm keen to obviously skate around these elements. Just wanted the top of his head in. Right, there's actually a couple of figures behind. Just occasionally look at the thing. Okay, so there's a couple of guys just looking over. This guy actually looks like he's got a Mohican, but it's actually another figure behind him, just with a little streak of red, but it looks like it's his hair, but unfortunately he hasn't got any hair. So, okay, so we'll also pop some color there. Going to use that yellow for the background. So I'll do another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll have a short break. Well, unmute, or you can, I'm not sure if I can, yeah, you can unmute yourself during the break. So I'll just do a little bit more. Okay, so this should be a lighter yellow, limey yellow kind of color. Just trying to discover it on my palette. So I can use this in a couple of places. So tempted to use it for the umbrellas behind, probably will actually. Let's start over here first. Yeah, just wanted a touch more green. Yeah, there's a few things. There's a drain pipe, which, yeah, we'll leave for now. I may put that in after. I'm just really curious to know what was going on. Oh. Yeah, just what was going on there. There wasn't anything going on, so. Okay, just looking to. Slightly higher. But sometimes leaving the odd little gap there's good. And just following. I used to be so precise about drawing lines for windows. And then I discovered that they're just a little bit more interesting if you don't treat them so seriously and go a little bit wonky. Okay, so the background's going to be very light. Just want to use this color for a couple of things. And we just come in and use some of it to lighten the foreground. Again, it's probably slightly more usual that I would do this maybe towards the end, but just while I got this color. Okay. Okay, so we got a line of umbrellas at the back. They're not umbrellas, you know what I mean, parasols. I was always worried when I started running workshops someone would ask me some history of art question, which I wouldn't know the answer to. And then I started teaching at the local university, just part-time, this is years ago, and discovered that actually I knew more than the head of art. When I say no more, I meant like they were doing a project on the Renaissance, and the head of art was showing this painting, and it was by Caravaggio. And she said Leonardo da Vinci did it. So I was so tempted to say, that's not quite right. But I played by the rules and didn't say anything. Okay, we'll just lighten that. Okay. Yeah, so I don't want it dominating too much. Right, so we'll just do a couple of little other things and then we'll stop. So again, just while I've got certain colors, maybe, yeah, I've got a lighter blue here, so we'll just lighten this guy's shoulder. So it's quite nice to have something there already. And it doesn't need to be overly defined. And I can just carve my way into the shape. As long as you get a little bit close to what you're aiming for, because you can then develop it with a little bit more technical know-how later on. I'll do this guy as well, just because he's here. So a few things coming just in the second half, which will pop everything. Stronger lights, a bit more detail. It's actually tricky to decide because I've had some people who prefer these demos slightly underdone, but you kind of got to cater for everyone's taste, really. Just wanted a line. Should really use a bigger brush, but we'll go in with this one. You got to do a dodgy one. Because if it's too perfect, you're not, or you're going to find someone who's going to try harder to find something wrong with it. So you got to feed some naive stuff. Okay, and okay, there's subtlety in in some of these bits. So I've just put a little bit more subtle, just a little bit more in the way of, yeah, it should be slightly over. Yeah, so there's, yeah, bringing out these chairs, that'd be a thing. And it's really going to be a question of, so for example, this chair, just lighten. And then I can put in some darker little gaps. And just over here. Okay, Right, should we have a break? You can unmute yourself and we'll have a little 10-minute break and pop back then, okay? I'm going to have a little drink and lie down. Right, you ready for part 2?
Part 2, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay, I'm going to mute everyone again.
Okay.
Before you do that, can you talk a little bit about how you control the paint quality on your brushes?
Yeah, okay. There's certain things which I'm sure if I analyzed it, I'd figure out how or why I do something. Basically, I'm not arty, but what I do is quite practical. So for example, if I use lots of colors on a brush, it's normally dominated by one color or a neutral shade. The other colors are purely there just to make it a bit spicier and a little bit more, just a little bit more interesting.
And how do you stop the paint from drying? Because acrylics dry so quickly, don't they?
Yeah, you have to work quick.
Yeah, with a lot of paint.
Yeah, okay, so I don't layer my paintings over and over again like you might do with oil paints. Some of this stuff I won't be working on. So when I do my paintings, I'll do the initial kind of application and then pick out details. And really what the viewer is going to look at are little bits that I've picked out. All the other stuff is just incidental to them. It's what I find probably the most interesting because just about anyone with a bit of time on their hands could kind of mimic something technical, but actually to kind of place something and not do anything with it or not play with it. I mean, I find that, especially if you like realism, that temptation is unbearable. You want to do more and more. And that's one of the things I had to kind of just say to myself, just don't do as much as I used to do. And it's one of the first things the gallery said to me, don't go too busy, just leave something to the imagination. So the control and the way it works is I like to think of it, you got a backbone of drawing, but you have to relinquish almost all logic of that when you first start out, because you're allowing the creative side to take over, if that makes any kind of sense.
It does, yes. Yeah.
Do you wash your brushes between each application or wipe them on a cloth?
I've got a bit of tissue which I might skim off, but that's rare. I mean, normally so if I have a brush, I'll just mention these again. So these are by De La Rowney, the Skyflow range of acrylic brushes.
Yep.
I heard someone say, obviously my partner, who's also an artist, she was using decorators brushes, but they fan out. But the good thing about this brush is you get that very precise edge. You can do that.
Yep.
And then you can do an extremely fine edge.
Yep.
And it's funny because a lot of stuff is, I guess, more instinctive, because if you think about painting in general, you're going to be interrupted by lots of things: cleaning brushes, topping up paint, changing your water, stuff like that. And I've just found, right, if I spend 1 hour on a painting and it's quality time where everything's set out, my thought process isn't going to be torn away because I've got to change water or clean my brushes, then that 1 hour is going to create consistency throughout. The colors are going to be linked by me not cleaning the brush because some of that residue is still on the brush.
Yeah, right.
So there's a kind of stepping stone to get to where you need to be, which is get everything covered. There's a point where your brain will start to become tired of what you're looking at, and you'll lose sight of why you started it, and it become a technical exercise of depicting creases in jackets or you know, details in faces, which is all kind of, like I say, that's not the mastery that I'm after, because there's so many people who can draw better than me. But that's probably the problem, that when you've got a skill, you tend to want to show it off. But actually, if you kind of reserve it for certain parts, then it's going to be showcased a lot better than if you smother it.
And another quick question.
Yeah.
Why did you choose blue as your initial background?
It was literally the one that was closest to me. Because I've got a green one and I've got a purple one and I've got a light blue one.
Lovely.
It doesn't, yeah, it's purely, I knew the orange would work well against the color, but yeah, essentially it's, yeah, sometimes you can pick a bright red one and that's going to work well with lots of blues. So yeah, I don't, I'm quite methodical, but I know when I'm painting, when I'm doing pure painting, I don't want to be methodical. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to contemplate.
Good answers, thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. By the
You
way,
can mute us all now, yeah.
okay. It's 24 by 30 inches, the size of it. So
Big.
That is quite big, yes.
yeah, that's my average size. So
Yeah.
okay, so I'll mute you guys, and there'll be some time at the end for some questions if you have any more.
Okay.
So mute all. Okay, right. Can you hear me? Good, good. Okay, so just following on where I was, where I left off, gonna drop in some stronger whites there, pick out some more detail, bring the chairs out and just work on just enhancing the scene a little bit more. I'll start with a 2.5 inch. Yeah, so we're going to drop some lights in. Just got a clean mixing tray. And I've used a palette knife just to skim some of the color away. So, right, so white, blue. By the way, just a little thing with regards the paint. So when I do a proper painting for a commission or galleries, I use exactly the same paint. Because essentially, if I don't wear it out by over mixing, it's going to be fine. The luminosity is going to be there, and I can top up my some of the color with artist quality. Okay, so yeah, there's a couple of bits of detail which I'm not going to think too much of to start with. Just need to put some, yeah, a bit more yellow. Right, so we're going to fine tune some of this detail. Might pop the orange out a little bit more. Yeah, there's always a little bit of a delay when you start the painting again, because you need to reinsert your brain. Okay, so just, yeah, just seeing if there's anything else light I could put in. There's some signs up here. Just wanted to soften this tone off a little bit. should be a bit darker, but yeah, just for speed, really, I'm going to just bolt through these shapes. Yeah, there's a light kind of grey colour in here. So it's important to have some marks which are, I guess, uncontrived would be the word. They're more kind of clumsy. There's actually a figure behind there. I might leave her out. Just in case. All right. Right. Okay, so yeah, just in there. Okay, so there's some stuff in there I'd like to put in. The only thing about some of these shades, the detailing, if you like, is that they are fairly soft tints. So they're not going to jump out particularly. And we'll just go in here. A bit lighter. Yeah, and that runs along there. Yeah, so at this stage, I'm kind of hoping the drawing takes care of itself, and I don't really have to do too much to correct stuff, and it's just really a question of bringing the thing out. Just in there. Yeah, there's bits and pieces going on in here, and I can feel my brain being drawn into them. Okay, just moving along there. So essentially what I'm looking for is you put these subtle things in, so when you then launch a kind of some of the rich highlights or color, they're just going to look a little bit more sophisticated over some of the subtler things. It's one of the reasons why I like doing the big beginning bit, because everything is like, everything makes an impact. Okay, this doorway here. So in the past, I would have drawn out where that door, where the door frame stopped and where the door began. And obviously it creates a problem of kind of dividing shapes up, and what you get is hard edges. But I like the fact that some of this color just meets the green, and that hopefully creates something of a easier transition. Okay, yeah, and I also like jumping around because I'll get bored doing one bit. Yeah, want to do a bit more in there. Be easier to use a big brush. So a good thing about big brush, and I guess it's just practice, but you can create a big bit of dexterity if you tilt it and use your arm. Even the fact that it goes over too far, in the past, I would never have lived with that or that. But I just know I can get some dark after and just curb its enthusiasm a little bit. Sorry, just. I will try and answer questions. Right, why do I prefer acrylics over oils? Right, when I was at college, everyone did oils. And I just thought, well, if everyone's doing that, then I've obviously found my little thing that I could call my own, which was acrylics. And I guess at the time, they were okay, but obviously they've got a lot better. And the other little thing, more importantly, was when you think about a medium, you normally have the baggage of an artist who's done it really well. So if you think about oils, I mean, there's so many. I mean, I just think of Renaissance artists or Impressionism is what I really like. So I'll just be mimicking them. So I thought, at least with acrylics, there was a little bit more of a blank. I mean, there's obviously Peter Blake, Bridget Riley, but I just like the fact that acrylics just seem to have a bit more mystery to them. And I like the fact that they kind of repay your unfussiness. If you kind of treat acrylics like they should be, which is don't mess them around. They're more like watercolor. They'll actually do quite a few good things for you. So a lot of the initial application is me just not mistreating them and just allowing them to flourish a little bit. And hopefully the color will be strong enough to make it look nice, I suppose, or fresh is probably better. And yeah, I'm not, yeah, I think I've understood that you don't, if you want to stand out, you don't particularly want to follow what everyone's doing. So yeah, acrylics became the thing. I've written 4 books on it, so it really should be my thing. Right, so just going to lighten. Right, I will go in with some of the final highlights very, very soon. Yeah, there's actually. Yeah, so that's me playing with that, which I shouldn't be. There's a pub sign there, which is in yellow. Okay, yeah, there's a sign there. So I'm going to go into the figures very soon, just to enhance them that little bit more. And just some bits and pieces that I'm going to just toy with at the end. So just going to go down to a 1/2 inch. I might actually use a smaller one. So this is kind of primed now for some strong highlights. So we'll start there and we'll work our way along and just dapple a few other lights in. So titanium white, which is the most opaque white, you can get with some lemon yellow. And I'm just going to put in a bit of light blue, but the quantity of white will give me a really kind of strong highlight. Slightly stronger than that. Just got to bring her the way the hood comes out. Just in case you're interested, I may be running a workshop in near High Wycombe or West Wycombe, one of those. And I think that I should really have prepared. It's later this year, October possibly. If you're interested, you can drop me an email. My partner normally deals with bookings. As I've mentioned, she's not here this evening. Yeah, so if you're interested, just drop me an email. It's my name, Hashim Akib, yahoo.co.uk. Yeah, .co.uk. And yeah, we can see how that goes. Right, there's some red behind these figures, but the moment I put that red in, it's going to divert the attention away from stuff, so I won't be doing that. Again, that's something I would never have dreamt of doing in the past, but thank God I've graduated from just not copying everything. Yeah, a bit too strong. When you do figures, it's an interesting little thing. Don't worry about their feet. Just it's more the silhouette or profile that you're trying to catch, because you can assume they've got feet already. So you've got to provide information for the top part a little bit more. Okay, so I will just bring this guy out a bit more. Yeah, so these things, I'm hoping to leave a few minutes at the end just for some strong darks as well, because they'll go a long way just to prompt. I will probably, if I don't, obviously it won't be a super finished thing, but if I've got time this week, I'll finish it off. And obviously I'll upload, because I think I'm recording this. Yeah, this will go on my YouTube channel sometime next week. So hopefully I'll have maybe a slightly more finished version of it. Okay, so when you do a head, so I'm using this, just a bit more white with this color. And essentially I just want to do a highlight on the forehead and a little nose. You could put the cheekbone in as well, but maybe slightly subtler. You don't want a line. And that's really about as much as I do with faces now. I had this commission. I didn't take it on. I had this commission once. This guy got in touch, and I think he had about 50 quid to spend. And he wanted me to paint a wedding photo with 100 guests in. And obviously, I mean, this is years ago. Thank God I said no, because I would have picked them out. Yeah, maybe don't quite need that. So I'm getting messages. Okay, so this guy's arm or hand, just highlighting this figure here and this figure. So again, it's pretty much the nose is the big thing, and a bit of a highlight around there. That needs work, but again, it's one of those things, either invest time in that or develop other parts. So I'm going to develop other parts. Just want to bring this character out a little bit, and then we'll drop some other highlights in. So a couple of creases. The light's just catching that part of the jacket. A couple of creases here. Yeah, the chair's kind of moved a bit. Sitting on the edge. Yeah, just slightly turn down the screen. He's got kind of like a light reddish or a burnt orangey collar. And he's got a flat cap. Again, you just got to see how it relates to other bits. Okay, so we're going to bring a couple of other things out just fairly quickly. This guy's got a light collar over here. Quite like the idea of putting trainers in, but just a white blob would be fine. Okay, so I'll spend just the last few minutes just scurrying around the scene. So normally at the end, I'm looking just to catch some color and light here and there. Yeah, I want to bring this out as well. So yeah, there's some pieces around there. We'll leave that for now. Yeah, just bring that out. I've done demos in the past, and you could just drone on about, well, I'm not trying to put everything in. The demo's only so long, and the style is free and easy. And then you'll get someone say, can you put that little red sign in there? And it's devastating. Because the whole point is the participation of the viewer, if you like, of imagining stuff. But yeah. Okay, yeah, I'd like to kind of leave some of that, but maybe a bit of a skim. Yeah, sometimes you have to paint over some bits that you might like for the kind of greater good of the painting. That could be lighter. So they're quite big strokes. Something I noticed, if you do a lot of detail, let's say you start off positive and then you start putting detail in, it's very hard then to go back and do something expansive again, because your brain or your mindset has already been kind of super focused on little things. But it's imperative to keep the larger kind of picture in mind. Yeah, so this is, there's a bit of light, it's only subtle. Acrylics dry a little bit darker, so you kind of almost have to compensate for some stuff. When I don't look at my emails for, I mean, a weekend, if I didn't look at my emails on Monday, boy, there would be the whole morning spent just looking through those. Okay, so just going in with some darks now. So I can use a bit of this Prussian blue. I have used kind of black in the past, although years ago I said don't use black. But yeah, kind of, I guess tastes and trends come into play. Okay, so just almost just creating some slightly stronger edges here. There's always things you see at the end. There's actually a bit of, yeah, just around here, bit of goldy color, and it's repeated here. Yeah, so just strengthen these little bits up. And yeah, that's fine. And just, yeah, so just these bits. So if ever you want to bring stuff out, so this guy, just highlight around the hair, maybe use the odd outline. Don't outline everything, but just the odd little edge. I mean, I'm not overly keen on it, but if you need to just bring something out, it's quite a good idea to utilize some of that. The only thing is, if you utilize it there, you've got to utilize it in a couple of other places. So just to balance it up. Nearly done now. Just these. It's like the long goodbye. I will do more. Just darkening some of these bits. I've actually got a bit of purple on this, so it's not too abrasive. So yeah, there's a bit of shadow in there. Yeah, so when I have to change the color, it just distracts a little bit. So yeah, it's actually got a kind of goatee and stuff, but yeah, if I got time to work on this, I'll find some time tomorrow. Just some shadow there. I've got a guy there. Yeah, just pulling out these shapes. Just about there. And so, like I say, it's kind of the big marks initially make the little marks later on. And you'll spend less time fiddling then. Just coming in here. Yeah, so again, just avoiding stuff. So this lady's hair, just accentuating an edge, and that's all it needs. Just bring these out. So it creates this kind of regimented pattern of lines, if you like. A couple of little darks in background over there. Just softening off. Yeah, there's loads of stuff going on in there, but yeah, not going to happen. I'm more tempted actually just to drop in just a bit of light there. Yeah, there's a bit of a post there, but doesn't really do anything, so we'll leave that. Just put. Okay, so just these little bits, and then I'm done. So where the I'm very keen to put drain pipes in. When I do my London street scene paintings, for some reason I was taking a lot of photos, and there was a white van parked up, and someone asked me, "Well, is that your little thing?" So maybe if I start doing drain pipes, that'd be my thing, my next thing. It doesn't need it, it's just, I just thought, well, while it's there, maybe just darken the windows a little bit. And yeah, there's actually some kind of thing there as well, but I think we'll leave that. And just a last little plop of highlight. You know what, I think I'll leave it there because time's catching up, and like I say, if I have time, I'll finish it off. It's just a couple of lights here and there, just to link things up. But I think it pretty much showcases, hopefully, what you can do with acrylics and big broad brushes. Okay, so I think I'll leave it at that point. So if you want to